Welcome to today's video, where we're diving deep into the intriguing world of dark psychology and exploring the psychological triggers that can make women chase you. Now, before we get started, I want to be clear. This video isn't about manipulating or deceiving anyone. It's about understanding human nature, attraction, and how certain subtle techniques can influence behavior. When it comes to attraction, it's not always about being the loudest or the most charming person in the room. In fact, some of the most effective methods of drawing people to you are rooted in psychological principles that operate quietly beneath the surface. These are techniques that work on a subconscious level, using things like mystery, emotional triggers, and the power of scarcity to create magnetic attraction. If you've ever found yourself wondering why certain people seem to effortlessly attract attention while others struggle, or if you've noticed how some women chase after men who seem to give very little in return, you're in the right place. Today, I'll walk you through several key strategies that can subtly shift the dynamic in your favor, making you the one they want to pursue. But remember, power in relationships should always be balanced with respect and empathy. Misusing these techniques can lead to unhealthy dynamics, so it's important to approach this knowledge with caution and an ethical mindset. With that said, let's dive into the world of dark psychology and discover how you can use these principles to make women chase you. Ready? Let's go! Trick number 1. The power of scarcity. Creating value through absence. The principle of scarcity is one of the most effective tools in dark psychology when it comes to attraction. In simple terms, people tend to value things more when they are perceived as rare or hard to obtain. This psychological phenomenon can be applied to relationships, where being too available may lead to being taken for granted. When someone is constantly accessible, they're seen as predictable, and this predictability can diminish excitement or interest. To create value in romantic interactions, you need to strategically withdraw, allowing your absence to build desire and curiosity. For example, imagine you meet a woman at a social gathering and have an engaging conversation. While many men would follow up aggressively afterward, texting her the next day, sending messages frequently, and suggesting plans right away, this approach may make you seem overly eager, thus diminishing your value. Instead, a smarter move is to create a sense of mystery and scarcity. By waiting a few days before contacting her, you leave space for her to think about you. This deliberate absence makes her wonder what you're doing and why you're not immediately pursuing her, which can increase her interest in you. Once you do decide to reach out, the key is to maintain the balance between being engaging and not overcommitting. You can send a light, casual message that picks up where you left off at the party, but avoid appearing too eager to make plans. For instance, a simple text like, "Hey, had a great time chatting the other day. Hope your week's going well," keeps things friendly without giving too much away. This subtle distance piques her curiosity, leaving her wanting more of your time and attention. When she starts wondering about your availability, she may be more inclined to reach out and pursue you. In essence, scarcity creates value by making you seem less attainable, and in relationships, what is hard to attain becomes more desirable. It's a fine balance. Being too distant can backfire, but when executed with precision, scarcity can make someone crave your presence. By creating room for absence and intrigue, you cultivate a dynamic where she is more likely to initiate contact and chase after you. Trick number 2. The push-pull technique. Emotional roller coaster. The push and pull technique is a powerful psychological tactic that relies on alternating between showing interest and creating distance, effectively putting someone on an emotional roller coaster. It's the push, creating distance, and pull, showing interest, dynamic that creates an addictive emotional high. This technique taps into the human desire for validation and connection, making the person on the receiving end more invested in pursuing that approval. By keeping someone emotionally on edge, never fully secure in their place, you create intrigue, curiosity, and a subtle form of tension that makes them crave more attention and validation. Imagine this scenario. You're on a date with a woman and the conversation is flowing smoothly. You compliment her appearance, engage in witty banter, and make her feel special. During this phase, you are pulling her in with your attention and validation. However, as the evening goes on, you subtly change your approach. You stop giving constant attention, maybe check your phone or become slightly distracted. This is the push part of the technique. Your shift in behavior makes her wonder if she's losing your interest, triggering a desire in her to regain your attention. This fluctuation between affection and aloofness creates a sense of uncertainty, which can be incredibly effective in making her chase after more. The unpredictability of this approach is key. If someone always knows where they stand, the interaction becomes predictable and, eventually, boring. The push-pull technique leverages the element of surprise by alternating between closeness and distance. For instance, after a great date where you've been attentive, wait a little longer before texting her the next day. She's now wondering why you're not as responsive as before, sparking her curiosity and investment. In this scenario, the emotional roller coaster keeps her intrigued and engaged, wanting to know where she stands in your eyes. However, it's important to strike a balance when using the push-pull technique. If you push too much, she may feel rejected or lose interest altogether. The goal is to create a subtle emotional challenge, enough to make her wonder, but not so much that she feels dismissed. When used correctly, this method can create a strong sense of emotional attachment and intrigue, making her more likely to chase you in order to regain the positive feelings of connection you've provided during the pull phases. Trick number 3. Creating emotional investment. Get her to invest in you. Creating emotional investment is a powerful strategy in building attraction and drawing someone closer to you. People inherently place greater value on relationships and individuals in which they've invested time, effort, or emotions. This psychological principle, known as the sunk cost effect, applies to romantic relationships as well. When a woman invests emotionally in you, she becomes more attached and more likely to pursue you. The key is to create opportunities for her to feel that she is contributing to the relationship in a meaningful way, whether through her actions, thoughts, or emotions. One effective way to encourage this investment is by setting playful challenges that subtly invite her to put effort into impressing you. For example, during a conversation, if she mentions that she's a great cook, instead of simply complimenting her or agreeing, you could say something like, "I'm not sure you could make a dish that would blow me away." This light, playful teasing engages her competitive spirit and creates a scenario where she wants to prove herself to you. In this case, she may even go out of her way to cook something special, which requires her to invest both time and emotional effort into impressing you. As she tries to prove you wrong, she becomes more invested in the outcome, deepening her emotional involvement. Another subtle yet effective way to foster emotional investment is by asking for her opinions or advice on personal matters. By doing this, you create a sense of involvement and responsibility on her part. For example, asking for her input on something like choosing an outfit for an important event or seeking her thoughts on a career decision makes her feel like her perspective matters to you. When she invests her time and energy in offering advice or helping you make decisions, she becomes more emotionally connected. The act of contributing to your life makes her feel valued, which deepens her attachment to you. Moreover, the more a woman invests in you, the more she subconsciously starts to rationalize her feelings, convincing herself that her efforts mean she's emotionally invested. It's a natural human tendency to justify time and effort spent, and in doing so, her emotional bond strengthens. This investment dynamic creates a powerful feedback loop. As she continues to invest in you, she begins to chase the validation and fulfillment that comes from nurturing the connection, pulling her closer to you over time. Trick number 4. The power of mystery. Be an enigma. The power of mystery is one of the most effective ways to spark and maintain attraction. Humans are naturally curious creatures, and when someone presents themselves as an enigma, they often become more compelling. In relationships, being too open and transparent right from the start can remove the excitement of discovery, leading to predictability. On the other hand, when you reveal only certain parts of yourself and keep others hidden, you create an aura of intrigue. This encourages curiosity and keeps the woman interested, as she'll want to uncover more layers of who you are over time. A sense of mystery can turn ordinary conversations into engaging interactions where she is left wanting more. For example, During an initial conversation, rather than diving into the full details of your life story, you could offer just enough to pique her interest. If she asks about your job, instead of giving a straightforward answer, you could say something like, "I work on some pretty interesting projects that keep me busy, but it's kind of complicated to explain. Maybe I'll tell you more later." This type of response leaves room for curiosity, making her more inclined to ask follow-up questions or wonder about the specifics you didn't mention. The key is to create a scenario where she's more invested in learning about you than if you had immediately provided all the details. Another way to cultivate mystery is by maintaining emotional restraint, especially in the early stages of the relationship. If you're too quick to reveal your emotions or express romantic interest, it can take away the thrill of the chase. Women often feel more drawn to men they can't easily figure out, so by holding back on fully expressing how you feel, you give her something to work for. For instance, instead of rushing to tell her how much you like her, you can subtly show interest without putting all your cards on the table. This keeps her guessing and can make her more eager to seek your validation. Lastly, mystery doesn't only apply to what you say but also to your actions. Being somewhat unpredictable in your behavior can heighten attraction. If you're always available or follow the same routine, it can become monotonous. However, being occasionally elusive or doing something unexpected can keep things fresh. For instance, if you're used to texting her every day, you might skip a day or two, creating a bit of space. This will make her wonder what you're up to and increase her desire to reconnect with you. Trick number 5. Mastering the art of detachment. Stay in control of your emotions. Mastering the art of detachment is crucial when it comes to creating an irresistible aura that can make women chase after you. Emotional detachment doesn't mean being cold or uninterested, but rather being in control of your emotions and not reacting impulsively to every situation. Many people make the mistake of becoming overly emotionally invested too early in a relationship, seeking constant validation or approval from the other person. This can create a sense of neediness, which is inherently unattractive. Women, like anyone else, are more likely to chase someone who appears self-sufficient and confident in their emotional state. When you maintain emotional control, you communicate that your happiness doesn't depend solely on her, which naturally increases your desirability. For example, if she cancels plans at the last minute, many men might show disappointment or frustration. However, if you remain unfazed and respond calmly, saying something like, "No worries, we can catch up another time," you demonstrate emotional maturity. This cool, composed reaction shows her that you are not desperate for her attention or validation. The absence of any dramatic response may even make her question her actions, and in many cases, she will be more motivated to reschedule or make up for the change in plans. The key is to show that you value yourself and that her actions, while noticed, don't control your emotional state. In addition, staying emotionally detached puts you in a position of control within the relationship dynamic. When you're not seeking constant affirmation, you maintain power over your own feelings, which creates a sense of unpredictability. She won't always know where she stands with you, which can make her want to seek more of your attention. In contrast, if she feels like she's already won you over completely, she may lose interest. Emotional detachment creates an air of mystery and challenge, as she will be left wondering how much you truly care or what she needs to do to keep you interested. Furthermore, emotional detachment fosters a healthier dynamic in the long term because it prevents unnecessary emotional dependence. This balance is crucial for maintaining respect and attraction. When you show that you're content with or without her constant attention, it shifts the dynamic so that she feels the need to pursue you more actively. It's not about playing games, but rather demonstrating that your emotional well-being isn't tied to her actions, which is often a highly attractive quality. Trick number 6. Using reverse psychology. Make her feel like she's pursuing you. Reverse psychology is a subtle yet powerful tool that can flip the traditional dynamic of pursuit, making her feel like she's the one chasing you. The basic idea behind reverse psychology is to imply that you aren't fully convinced of her interest or abilities, which can trigger her desire to prove you wrong. This technique appeals to the natural human inclination to want what we feel is slightly out of reach. When you suggest that you're uncertain about her interest or suitability for something, it piques her curiosity and challenges her to demonstrate otherwise. In this way, you shift the balance of power by making her seek your validation. For example, if you're discussing travel or spontaneity, you might say something like, "I'm not sure you're the type of woman who'd enjoy a last-minute trip." This statement does two things. First, it subtly challenges her, and second, it positions you as someone who isn't easily won over. Many women may take this as an opportunity to prove that they're adventurous or fun, trying to gain your approval. Instead of you needing to chase her, she now feels compelled to convince you that she's worth your attention. By playing down her capabilities or interest, you invoke a natural competitive instinct, creating a desire in her to change your perception. Another great example of reverse psychology in action is during flirting. If she's showing clear signs of interest, instead of reciprocating immediately, you could throw in a playful line like, "Be careful, you might start liking me." This is lighthearted yet subtly disarming. It puts her in a position where she becomes more self-aware of her own interest, making her more likely to chase you for validation. The playful teasing suggests that you're not overly invested, which can make her feel more motivated to win your approval. This way, you maintain an air of confidence and mystery while letting her curiosity work in your favor. Finally, reverse psychology is effective because it allows you to maintain control over the emotional dynamic. When you're not directly pursuing her, she has to work harder to figure out your intentions, which keeps her engaged and interested. People are naturally drawn to what they can't easily have, and by downplaying your interest or creating playful doubt, you heighten her desire to seek your attention. It's a delicate balance. Used correctly, reverse psychology can spark a chase, where she feels like she's the one trying to win you over. Trick number 7. Subtly ignoring her. Leveraging the fear of rejection. One of the most effective psychological triggers in attraction is the fear of rejection. Humans are naturally wired to fear losing someone's attention, particularly when they've grown accustomed to it. In the context of romantic relationships, this principle can be subtly leveraged to increase a woman's desire for you. When a woman senses that she's losing your interest, even in a minor or implied way, it can stir a feeling of insecurity that compels her to chase you harder. The key here is subtlety. It's not about being cruel or harsh, but rather about gently pulling back your attention. For instance, imagine you've been consistently texting or calling a woman, maintaining regular communication that has become part of her routine. She begins to expect your daily check-ins, even takes them for granted. By suddenly reducing the frequency of your messages, without an obvious reason or explanation, you can trigger a sense of uncertainty. She might wonder why you're no longer as attentive or why your replies have slowed down. This change in behavior makes her question her standing with you and often leads to her initiating contact to regain your attention, driven by the underlying fear of being rejected or replaced. This psychological shift is powerful because it taps into one of our basic fears, rejection. Women, like men, want to feel valued and sought after. When the usual pattern of attention is disrupted, it creates an emotional void. This void can feel like rejection, and many will seek to fill it by trying to win back your focus and affection. For example, if she's used to you being the one to suggest plans or initiate conversation, pulling back slightly could lead her to start reaching out first, asking if something is wrong or trying to set up plans on her own. In this way, the subtle shift in attention tilts the dynamic, prompting her to invest more effort into the relationship. However, it's important not to overdo this technique. If you withdraw too much or for too long, it can backfire, and she might feel genuinely rejected and move on. The key is finding the right balance. Enough withdrawal to spark intrigue and concern, but not so much that she feels abandoned. When done right, the subtle reduction in attention can trigger her fear of losing your interest, making her more likely to chase you and seek reassurance that she's still desired. And there you have it, some of the most powerful psychological triggers that can make women chase you. From creating scarcity, mastering the push-pull technique, and using mystery to your advantage, to understanding the subtle art of detachment and reverse psychology, these strategies tap into human nature in ways that build attraction. Remember, the key here is balance. These techniques are not meant to manipulate or control anyone. They're about shifting the dynamics of attraction in a way that works in your favor. Attraction is often a psychological game, but it's important to play it ethically. Treat people with respect, and don't forget that genuine connections always come from mutual trust and understanding. If you use these principles wisely, you'll not only create more attraction but also deepen the emotional connection with the people you're interacting with. At the end of the day, relationships thrive when both sides are truly invested in each other's happiness and growth. Thanks for watching. If you found this video insightful, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and let me know in the comments what other topics you'd like me to cover. See you in the next video.